happening right now on Sports Extra. We are fresh off the fields of training camp to break down everything we've seen in those first 3 practices and the high hopes that come along with it for the Dirty Birds. Plus, the baseball trade deadline less than 96 hours away. What are the Braves going to do, if anything? And college football gets back on the field this week, which is so hard to believe. What exactly are we expecting to see from the Dogs and the Yellow Jackets?
Individually doing what we need to do to get in a good spot, but as a team, just doing the little things, getting runners over, getting them in, and just trying to hold a lead.
We know who we are as a football team. Everyone in the country knows who we are as a football team, and we embrace that. You sign up to play a game with Georgia Tech, and people know what they're going to get. They know what they're in store for.
You heard QB1, best in the league. Look, we're as busy as ever, but some of us still finding some time to relax. I don't really know how that is possible, but Sports Extra starts now. Welcome in, everybody. I know you're wishing you were on a boat somewhere like Mr. Home Team over here. You are fresh off of Lake Lanier. I'm fresh off of the practice fields in Flowery Branch, but you're coming off a lake. You like that?
The locker room has been globetrotting. SEC Media Days, our annual fundraiser at Camp Twin Lakes, ACC Media Days, and we finished up at Lanier Islands. What's wrong with a little R&R with my brothers in the locker room?
Home Team Brandon Leak, everybody. We got to get on the same deal here because I need to be on a lake, too. I need to do that next time. And Gabe Burns from the AJC, you had a little bit more of a relaxing weekend this weekend, right?
I did. I went to a concert, but no lakes. I need to get me a lake weekend or something.
What are we doing?
I know, especially I spend so much time with the Braves these next couple months for them. I should be able to take some time to go relax, do some other stuff.
You're going to need to. You're going to need to relax away from the Braves, and we all need to relax from the heat. But turn it up because Flowery Branch has been so much fun. The fans welcome back for the first time in 2 years. The Hill has looked unbelievable. Over 5,000 fans on Saturday, and then they're back again on Sunday. So the fact that we are 5 days into training camp home team is crazy. But what are your first impressions of the Dirty Birds? There's a lot of hype around this team.
Yeah, there's excitement, and they're players. We finally have a new crew of guys. If you talk about turnover, whenever you get a new quarterback, you get a new face of your franchise. But now you have so many guys you can root for. You have some veterans in the back end like Jesse Bates, and then the young guys with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., and then Michael Penix Jr. obviously going to be the star of the show. You look at the fact that you've got a situation where you have a quarterback who has some wide receivers, and hopefully if Kyle Pitts is 100% healthy and ready to go, who knows? Maybe this can be a really good offense coupled with a decent defense to get us where we want to go to the postseason, a place we haven't been in almost 8 years.
It's really painful when you put it that way.
It doesn't sound real.
The owner, Arthur Blank, he talked on Saturday, and he said that he feels the best he has about not just the coaching staff, but the offense, the defense, special teams, all of the above. Fans echo that same sentiment. I mean, they were out in full force, just excited to be back because this team is exciting. Gabe, one of the reasons why this team is exciting is because they've got a shiny new quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. He's looked really good in the early days of camp. Granted, it is very early, and we've only gotten 3 games out of Mike, but what do you like about what he's been able to show people in training camp?
You know what? We haven't seen that much of him, but I think it's good for him that he did make those starts that he did down the stretch last year, and that he spent an off season knowing that he's the guy, getting settled in, continuing to build chemistry. I've said it on here before, that ball, it just explodes off his arm. I mean, that is a really live arm. This is a guy that, the arm talent, the ability, certainly if he puts it together, you could see a top 10 type of quarterback eventually. So how good is he going to be now? It remains to be seen, right? I think all of us were pretty encouraged, generally speaking, about what we saw from him last year. So we'll see. He's got a lot of weapons around him, but make no mistake, this team, home team laid it out well. This team has better depth. There's plenty of reasons to be excited. People are excited because of him. He's the number one reason for excitement for all those people there.
If you look at some of the good that happened last year, your offensive line was a really good offensive line, able to run the ball. Bijan Robinson, a Pro Bowler, and Drake London caught all those balls because they had time for the quarterback quarterback to throw. So he was 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. If you can build upon that and figure out what the defense is going to be, don't get off to a bad start. This could be a really fun and a season that pays off for the fans' hopes that have been there for a long, long time.
Continuity on the offensive line also helps as well. The only thing that is a different chess piece would be the center at this point. So new blindside tackle for Michael Penix Jr., but everything else remains the same. That is very good. Let's talk about Kyle Pitts for a second. You brought him up earlier, Gabe. This is someone who has faced a lot of scrutiny. His rookie year was fantastic. He makes a Pro Bowl his rookie year, breaks a franchise record, and then falls off a bit. He's dealt with some injuries. He's dealt with a ton of different quarterbacks. He's on his 6th quarterback in 5 years, by the way, which is unbelievable. But Kyle has looked different to me. More mature, that he cares less maybe when it comes to the outside noise. But Kyle's been impressive, Gabe. What kind of a season does everyone need Kyle to have in his contract year?
Well, if he's healthy, he can be as good as he wants to be. That's never been, I mean, we've all seen the talent going back to Florida. I mean, it really is just a special kind of one-of-one ability, and it hasn't come together consistently. I think you nailed it when you just said contract year. And, you know, a lot of guys just kind of recognize, and this is not a knock, but a lot of guys recognize, like, you know, if I'm playing for a bigger deal now. I'm playing for an opportunity to either stay here, play somewhere else. I think now, continuity-wise, this will be the best quarterback he's played with, I think, at least the best arm. So we'll see. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think, you know, given how, you know, the past has unfolded with him, we can't be totally sure, but I'm certainly cautiously optimistic, and I do think that Penix, getting him involved and trying to build that camaraderie with him, that really matters.
And Terry Fontenot said today that Kyle is as healthy as he has been. I know you want to talk about Kyle, but I do want to ask you about this defense because it does look very different, especially on the defensive line. And who knows how that's going to shake out. We have all of training camp to figure that out. But how do you see the defensive line playing out? Because there are some rookies to get mixed in there. Maybe Ruka is showcased a little bit more. About how do you see it shaking?
I think that's the great unknown for the Falcons. You can look at the linebacking situation, and you can see some veterans, you can see some young guys. The defensive line losing Grady Jarrett, who would have been your senior statesman on the D-line and the guy who could teach the young guys like Ruka the ropes. We just don't know. And so the veterans you do have, you're in a situation where they have to prove it, and that is a weak link of the defense. Their run defense was not good for the majority of the season, and at the end of the year, it was the reason why they didn't end up going to the playoffs, in my opinion. That being said, you know, if they are able to show early that you can't run all over them, I don't know if it's going to be one person. I think it's going to have to be a group gang mentality on the defensive line to figure out if they're going to stop people from getting to the second level.
There are heavy rotations on that defensive line and on the second level in training camp so far. Good reason for that. We're figuring out what exactly this defense is going to look like. And they were very spirited on Sunday. I talked to ESPN's Mark Ramondi all about that. Here now with the Falcons guru himself.
Where?
ESPN's Mark Ramondi. He covers the Falcons for ESPN. And Mark, this has been an awesome training camp so far for the Falcons. A lot of high expectations for this team, but let's start with the quarterbacks because we can't talk about them enough, clearly.
Sure.
Michael Penix Jr., he is the starting quarterback for the first time in training camp. What do you think he's looked like so far?
I think he's looked pretty well, pretty good so far. There's been some inconsistency. He didn't have the greatest of practices on Saturday. I think he was like 5 of 14. There were some drop passes too, so you can't completely credit him for that completion percentage, but he's done well. It's a learning experience. It's very early on. It's you can't take a whole lot away yet from the first 3 or 4 practices of training camp. You just can't. There's a lot of football to be played and a lot of practice to be practiced. So any kind of extrapolations from what Michael Penix is doing right now in July probably will not matter in week 1.
It's crazy because defenses are usually a step ahead of offenses in training camp, but this defense has so much rotation to it. I want to ask you about the defense because there is so much rotation going in and out, and each 11 on 11. A lot of new pieces on this defense. What can fans expect from what this is going to look like in training camp?
It's first of all, the intensity of the defense has been, and I think we'll talk about that in a second, but that has been like night and day compared to last year.
It's unbelievable.
I feel like the defense has definitely really, really come out with a chip on its shoulder from the jump, and there are a lot of younger players on the defense this year. 4 rookies who are getting like regular playing time with the first and second teams, because we saw Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman Saturday play with the ones, and Jalen Walker, who did not practice today, but him and James Pierce have been with the ones as well so far during training camp. So we're going to be seeing a lot from the younger guys. It's a faster defense than it was. Divine Diablo's a guy that has caught people's eye as a middle linebacker, and I think that was the issue last year for the Falcons, right? It was the defense, pass rush as well as secondary, and it looks like with Jeff Ulbrich, the new defensive coordinator, things are getting cleaned up.
High expectations on that side of the ball for sure. Jeff Ulbrich singled out Rukarororo. I asked him about him. He said he loves the way he's been in camp so far. He said the sky is the limit for this kid, which I think is awesome. You mentioned it being very intense.
Yeah.
We saw two very intense scuffles at practice today, and really right in front of you and I, Mark, when it was happening. Why is that important this early in camp, and why do some players welcome it?
I thought you were going to get in there and throw some elbows.
Not yet. Maybe week 2.
So it seemed like James Pierce Jr. has come out with an intensity in his rookie year at his first training camp.
It's awesome.
And it might have been a little bit too much today because Matthew Bergeron, left guard, and Caleb McGarry, right tackle, definitely took umbrage with whatever it was that they thought that James Pierce was doing, because both of them had their helmets off screaming at him, and Leonard Floyd, the edge rusher, had to come to Pierce's aid and both those things. And it was like a whole big scrum with different players, and we didn't really see a whole lot of that last year. And I think that also speaks against what we were talking about a second ago, the intensity. The defensive intensity has changed quite a bit. It's a marked difference. And you want, and Jeff Ulbrich said this too, like, you want that. You do want the intensity. You do want, it's football. It's a violent game. It's an aggressive game. You want that. You just don't want it to go too far. Sure. And it went a little bit, there were some punches thrown. I covered the UFC for a long time. I didn't see any really good punches thrown, if I'm being honest. But there were some things going on, and but you want to temper that, but harness it, and I think that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, the intensity that's been early is something that has been very evident for the Falcons so far. Intensity from Mark Raimondi on his reporting too. Great intensity from you, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Hang with us. We'll be right back with a lot more. If you like roller coasters, this Braves season and this Braves team is for you. Specifically, when we look at the starting rotation, let's start with the opening day rotation. We're going to bring a graphic up for you. It was Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Shawver, and Grant Holmes. Okay, we'll scrap that because all of those guys are not playing baseball right now. They're all on the injured list. And then you look at the current starting rotation, Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder, Joey Wentz, to be determined. To be determined.
I always get the kids say, Mom, can't wait to see TBD pitch. Let's go down there and check him out.
Honestly, at this point, that is what we're saying. We can't wait to see TBD pitch. And I saw this from our good friend Grant McCulley, our Braves insider, as well, for illustrating that perfectly. What a mess when it comes to the starting rotation, Gabe. I'll let you take this because they're trying to fit puzzle pieces into a puzzle and they're not fitting. How do you navigate what is that hodgepodge of a starting rotation?
I mean, you just get through it however you can. I mean, that's the bottom line.
TBD.
I mean, last year they dealt with injuries and they managed to rally and they managed to make the post. That was a real accomplishment. I know, like, they got bounced really quick. This has just been too much to overcome. The underperformance, just everything. Like this, I mean, they're done. Obviously, they're not going anywhere. And they can't overcome this. You lose your entire rotation. I mean, we're going to be seeing, I would expect, guys like Waldrop. We've already seen Didier Fuentes, who clearly wasn't ready, and it was unfair to him that he was ever put in that position to begin with. So they're just, everything that could go wrong has pretty much gone wrong for them. And this happens sometimes. They've had an awesome run, 7 straight years of making the postseason. That's great. It's going to be a really interesting offseason.
Maybe they're the Falcons' sacrifice because 7 straight seasons of not making the playoffs and then 7 straight seasons of a Braves team making the playoffs. Who knows? All joking aside, this really is not a great situation for the Braves because Grant Holmes now on the injured list because of the elbow tightness for him. So this is another blow to your starting rotation. These pieces that you're looking for, not named TBD. What happens now that Grant's not a part of this?
Well, now you're going to need the reverse of what we saw the first half of the season. The first half, we saw decent pitching. Grant Holmes really carrying the load. We saw strikeouts and Chris Sale, and nobody was hitting. Now it looks like some bats are coming alive with Michael Harris II. Since the middle of June, now Matt Olson has been on fire, and you've been able to see Ronald Acuna Jr. still be in a good atmosphere of hitting once he came back from his injury. So you're going to need the bats to carry you now when they were missing in action for half of a season, and now you have a bunch of bullpen games coming up, a bunch of minor league pitchers coming up, and a bunch of we don't knows that are coming up for the Atlanta Braves Braves. So the bats now are going to have to work in order to make it competitive the last few weeks of the baseball season.
You mentioned Michael Harris. He's somebody that had a very slow start to the season and all of a sudden has turned a corner at lightning speed. He had a historic night on Saturday, and he just looks so confident and different at the plate. Gabe, what happened to Michael that he's producing in the way that honestly we know how he can?
Sometimes you're just a tweak or two away from like figuring some stuff out. And look, I'm happy for him. This has been a horrible year for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been really rough. The key is going to be, is he going to sustain this over the second half? And then we're going to be going to spring training next year going, what kind of player are they going to get if he does sustain this, right? So he's still got a lot to prove. You know, he's got the contract. He's going to be their guy. The defense is always going to give him value. This is a really big, couple months for him, I think. When you're looking for reasons to watch and follow and see, and if he has a strong second half, I would say that would be a reason for encouragement going into the offseason.
It'll be mentally tough for him, too. Everybody goes into a slump, and he's been in slumps before, but to make
Almost
adjustments.
hit for the cycle yesterday.
Yes, and then nothing was working for most of the season, and now it looks like he's found a groove. Stitt talked about maybe his hand placement on the bat. Maybe that's found a place where it will stay, and if he can be this kind of guy for the rest of the season to start off next year, I think he'll be in a much better middle space, and the Braves will be in a much better place at the bottom of the lineup where he can help them be more potent.
Baseball's a funny game in that way. You mentioned it. They're just a tweak or two away sometimes. Sometimes it just takes hand adjustments on the baseball bat, and maybe the Braves need to adjust something with their team. They have an opportunity to do so. Thursday at 6 o'clock is the trade deadline for Major League Baseball. Home team, do you see the Braves doing anything at this point?
Not anything major, and it's because the pieces that people would want, they aren't performing right now. So What are you going to get for somebody who would like Marcell Ozuna? Certainly, if there's a team and there's a package, one thing about Alex Anthopoulos, he usually makes a move that is good for a move right now and one down the road. It seems like to get best bang for your buck is just to wait till the season's over during the winter meetings, and then people can sit back and see exactly what they need. The Braves can do so as well. So if there is a move, maybe there could be a pitcher gone. Maybe Raisel Iglesias can help be a bullpen arm for somebody else. I don't know, but I don't expect a major move for a player that's going to be here for years to come in at the trade deadline.
He mentioned Marcell Ozuna. Gabe, do you think that his days are limited now in a Braves uniform?
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to be anything major, but I do think Ozuna will be traded. I do not think it's going to be any kind of outstanding return, anything to get people excited. It just makes sense. There's no reason to keep him here now. The playing time's dwindled. You want to look at the Murphy-Baldwin combo as your catcher DH, see if that's something that you're going to do full-time next year.
Yeah.
I think Iggy's going to be traded. Pierce Johnson is interesting. I think he'd be one of the better relievers available. He's got a $7 million team option, so you have to ask yourself, what am I getting for him that I'm giving up? Would I pick up that option, first of all? And if you're moving him, then they're trying to win next year. They've already got to add multiple relievers, so then that's another guy you're going to have to replace. But I would certainly think Ozuna and Iggy will be gone.
If anything, this is going to be an incredibly busy offseason. Not that it ever is not busy for Alex Anthopoulos. It'll be wild to see what they do because they do need to move some stuff around if you're looking to next season. All right, guys, hang with us. It's hard to believe, but college football, it returns this week. We were looking for home team and where he was at ACC Media Days. The dude car is what I called it last week. We're going to break that down next.
Those are way above my pay grade. All right. I could care less. We go play them in Piedmont Park. I'm serious. We'll go home tonight and play some at 5 o'clock in Piedmont Park. I give a crap where we play.
The hatred for Georgia from Brent Key is unrelentless. Gabe, what did you think about those comments?
I love Brent Key.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
likable.
so in on him. I'm in on his program. I'm in on his culture. Like, if I had a kid that was playing football, I'd want him to play for Key. And I mean, look at me. That's probably not going to happen. But still, like, you know what? Like, he's awesome. Like, he gets it. I think if you're a Tech fan, I mean, this is kind of a dream guy to have as your coach. And I really like this team. Like, behind Clemson, I think the ACC is going to be pretty open, so you never know.
And the good thing about that is Georgia Tech is as close to Georgia as they have been, so it's going to be very competitive, I think, at the end of the year. One reason for that is their quarterback, Haynes King. This guy is a baller. He revealed that he had a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder. He played through that, by the way, which If you're a quarterback, you know that's absolutely insane. Home team, what can Haynes do for this football team, and what will be his final year?
I call him the king of the city. We talked to him at the ACC Media Days, and he played hurt. I got to the stadium before the Miami game, and he could not throw the football more than 10 yards, and he gave everything he had. And so the 8 overtime affair with Georgia, I think that showed him and everybody in Jack and Nation, they can play with anybody. They could beat anybody. That's what it takes. You have to be one play, one possession better than the best teams in the country, and they should feel like they are right there with Haynes King coming back for his final run as quarterback at Georgia Tech.
Haynes coming back is unbelievable for the Yellow Jackets for sure. Georgia begins their camp this week. The Yellow Jackets do as well, but we only have time to talk about the Dogs. Gabe, what do you expect from this football team this year?
I think it's going to be, I think it and the SEC are going to be pretty similar to last year. I think there's going to be some feeling out. I don't think that this team is going to be dominant as as they were a few years ago. I don't think anyone in the SEC is going to be that way. But once again, I mean, they won the SEC last year, and it feels like they kind of looked at that as a disappointment, like the entire season, right? And I think. So there's going to be some guys. It's going to be interesting to see how some of these guys are developed. But, man, once again, we're looking at another monster here.
A lot of youth on that football team, so it will be interesting to see how those guys develop. But I cannot believe college football is back. Here we go. Welcome back, college football. And we'll wrap things up with Maria's Minute after the break. Maria's Minute tonight is all about fights at training camp. Why, you may ask? Well, apparently there's a lot of opinions on whether or not this should actually be a thing, but I gotta break it to you guys. It is a bunch of athletes who are not only passionate about their craft, but they're also fighting for roster spots. Tempers, they were bound to flare. And honestly, this was something that has been missing from this team for a long time, especially on defense. And it was really refreshing to see the fire and intensity from several guys today. On top of that, teammates running to stick up for their position groups. That was so cool. I by no means am saying that punches should be thrown and this should be the standard, but what should be the standard is a culture that isn't satisfied with being a good football team. They want to be great. All right, guys, it's been a fabulous week, a busy one as always. We have a lot going on next week, including the MLB Speedway Classic. See you next Sunday.